Alright, hello there, Codemaker4 here. So let's just say the last video got quite popular and I got a lot of comments. So in this video I'll be going over all of your suggestions and other stuff you've commented. First of all, I'm gonna have to fix a mistake. In the last video I mistakenly said that gas engines have a constant torque. What I meant is that I'm using gas engines because they will apply a constant torque during a test. Though of course that torque is editable. Electric engines always have the same torque no matter the setting and change their speed, while gas engines always have kind of the same very high maximum speed where you can edit the torque. But the point was that the torque is consistent during a single test, so this is an easy way to apply a consistent force. But yeah, I used bad wording there, sorry for that. Second, like real quick thing is that I didn't really touch enough on the fact that, of course, this new physics engine reduces lag. Spiceman specifically said that they had like a tank build, which wasn't quite supposed to be less laggy in this version, but because tank threads are usually done as a separate object, I think that might be the reason that this helped a lot. I'm still working on him to get the blueprint that he tested. So I can verify this myself. But yeah, I should have also touched on the fact that, of course, this is a performance improvement still, which is going to be useful to a lot of people. And then a third comment that I can go over real quick is that both Cable Car and John M said that I need to be using a world that was made in the newest version of the game, otherwise the new physics might not work. That's probably true. This world was made in the newest version of the game. I always test stuff in new worlds, so I know stuff like this might happen. So yeah, don't worry, I kind of forgot this. Everything you see here was built in the newest version. Of course, the MiniCart blueprints were made a long time ago, but it's not like they changed all of the IDs of the bearings and joints to be new stuff, like with the survival update. So I don't think that that would have an impact. And of course, this testing thing, I built that entirely in the new update. My point still stands that I've proven that the physics are less reliable with the new physics setting. Another point John M made is that my piston setup here isn't quite indicative of what is going on in the real world. And that is true. Perhaps I should have touched on that more in my previous video, that this test here is just to kind of quantify that the physics engine is indeed worse in a specific case. And the MiniCart running in the background is just like a crude way of proving that there is at least some other way that it's applies to some sort of real practical application that is becoming worse. Though, of course, his point is that these two things are not the same test, even though I made it seem like they were. So yeah, that's a good point. Okay, editing Codemaker here. Those were a lot of kind of, like, before we actually get started, suggestions. Believe me, trust me, this time we are actually going to get to the real kind of suggestions and how to improve the MiniCart system. Slick Rick and Cogster suggested that I should use a line follower. So of course here I'm relying on the physics engine to make sure that these carts kind of follow a specific line. And of course, if I would use a line follower based on colored paint, or like at least in some sort of way based on sensors, then of course the MiniCart doesn't have to physically touch the weird rail geometry. And although that is true, I am skeptical, because I have in the past tried to use line followers even for MiniCart related projects, but I cannot get them to go in a straight line properly. What happens is that your cart is going straight, everything is fine, and then there's a random physics bump, because yeah, like just removing the pipe for sensors, that's not gonna remove all physics glitches. It's just gonna be removing some of them. So it gets a bump, and oh no, it's 2 degrees to the left. So what happens is that your cart is gonna go to the left, and oh no, it's like binary logic kicks in, and it has to go bam bam and try to turn to the right. Now it's on the wrong side again, so it tries to turn to the left. Like, making a line follower in scrap mechanic that doesn't do this oscillating is hard. I've not been able to. So, like, if you have any tips and tricks on how to properly do that, please tell me in my Discord server. I'd love to know about this. Another suggestion made by Scotta Hemai and Misha Serafin was to use smoother corners with the new wedges. And, well, okay, let's open up a new world and see how that works. So, during a recent live stream, I tried this, and well, let's just say this is the result, though I must say I raised the speed of the electric engines to see if that would make a difference. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be... Oh, and I tried making a system like this to prevent them from falling out. So let's get a original minicart at the original speed, and let's get a few more and see how long it takes for this to break. Yeah, it does still glitch out. It seems to recover itself. Let's test a little more. That was only 5 minutes. Oh, I was not paying attention. So, okay. This took, like, I don't know, how long? It took this many minutes for 4 cards to fail. So, with a real system of like 10 cards, that would be like 2.5 times as fast, and 10 cards is not a lot. Like, I think in that video I should have like 20 roaming around. So just using smoother corners does not seem to be solving the problem. Oh, I could have done something better with my time there. So, Curse of Knowledge suggests that I should be using lower friction wheels and rails, and they say that they have gotten a lot of success by using the low friction mesh blocks, square mesh blocks, as rails. So I'm going to be trying that in combination with the smooth corners. So yeah, let's take this apart and convert this into square mesh block. Okay, so I converted all of the rails to square mesh, just the kind of lowest friction block that is available. So let's grab some original minicarts and try it out. Home. Okay, so this is not going to work. I mean, I had to hammer it to make it go to speed, but if it like stops and has to accelerate it, like no, that's not gonna work. What I am going to try, however, is swap the wheels of the cart with something more low friction, and then stick with the concrete for the actual road surface, because there is also this really funky part called the stand support A. Oh, I already have it in my inventory. And as you can see, like, you might think, well, hey, Codemaker, that's the wrong wheel size. And yeah, it's like, I don't know how drunk Axolot was when they made this, but the hitbox is just the same as a 3x3 wheel. So the biggest difference here is that the stand support A has a friction rating of only 3 points, whilst the normal small wheel has a friction rating of 5. So this is lower friction. Okay, you know what? I take that back about wheels looking ugly, because it's been running for a while now, and it still works. Interesting. So yeah, that means that the suggestion from Curse of Knowledge actually kind of works, though you have to use the low friction wheels instead of the low friction rails. That was his original suggestion, and he like commented under it that he had a lot of success using low friction rails, but let me send a comment and see if he responds in time. Editing Codemaker is still here. Gosh, this is a long video to edit. Okay, so this dude, Levi Brunner, they left 2 suggestions. The first suggestion, actually they left 3, but like 2 of them kind of were grouped together. And I had an explanation in there, but it boils down to, nah, not gonna work. I'm not even gonna try. Thanks for the suggestion though. But that was like a really long, wasteful section of this video. The video is long enough. Let's get going. Let's go to their third suggestion. But they also left a different suggestion, and that was to add a kind of piece of suspension under here to kind of make sure, like a stiff suspension, stiff enough that it doesn't really budge under normal conditions, but still a piece of suspension, so when stuff does get really glitchy, it'll try to kind of budge and solve itself without the glitchiness having to move the entire mass of the cart. It just has to move the kind of mass of the stick back into the slot in the rail. So yeah, let's see if that works. And I did also kind of do this test without the low friction wheels, because it would be nice if there's a system that works without the low friction wheels with the glitchy, wrong sized hitbox. If there's a different round part that I could use that has less friction, please leave a comment. But I'm pretty sure that's the only kind of 3x3 round part with less friction. Anyways, let's see how well this works. Oh, it glitched out. After not that long. So yeah, unfortunately it doesn't quite seem to work. Perhaps the suspension just makes it a little more glitchy than it was before. That's kind of sad. Oh well, but thanks for the suggestion, it was a good try. So FA383 says that the physics engine doesn't like large forces and small things, which I guess is even more what we're doing over here. So let me show what they mean. So this does actually align quite well with my theory on how scrap mechanic physics works, and that's kind of a soft physics engine, where they try to calculate how forces kind of propagate from one body to another through a joint by just kind of measuring how far they're physically displaced and kind of pretending all of the joints are ever so slightly elastic. So instead of having to like separately keep track of all of the forces, you get a lot of emergent behavior for free, just at the cost that things get offset weirdly to be able to calculate how the forces are actually being applied. So here, there's the force of moving the entire cart is being put on this very small thing. So if this wants to apply a certain force in that direction, it needs to physically move in that direction by a large amount, because this is very lightweight. So if this is going to try to hang on that, and that's going to hang on the entire cart, it's going to be pushed back. Like the amount by which this peg will be pushed back by the mass of the cart versus how much the pipe will be able to push the cart in the correct direction, like that's a bad ratio. Like this will be kind of jammed back into the rail a lot. Now, of course, the scrap mechanic, it will do this for multiple iterations, so at the end of the physics stick everything is mostly resolved, but something about smart physics, it just kind of forgets to do this sometimes. So perhaps what would help is to just have it be directly attached. Now, I didn't do this in the original MiniCart for 2 reasons. First of all, it's off-center. It's 6 blocks wide because I wanted to use the large windshield pieces for decorational reasons, and so it could fit like the even-sized chairs. So that's why it's such a complicated pipe system. Second reason is that I wanted there to be a bearing there so it could roll, because otherwise the friction would be too much on this corner, especially with the old 45-degree corners. So let's see that if that last problem is resolved now that we have the smoother corners. Okay, that's still undesirable, how much it slows down. Yeah, it can get stuck. Oh, it got stuck glitchy. What? What? What's going on? Okay, I'm just gonna say that that does not seem to resolve the... This is one big body. It's all merged. How is it still being so glitchy? Okay, perhaps there is indeed something going on with like the wheel friction being a lot. Let me try that again and only have one set of bearing instead of a chain of 2 bearings. And that might also help, according to this theory of how the physics engine might work. Of course, we don't know the source code. And I could, like, download the bullet physics engine and try to kind of replicate this stuff myself. But we also know that Axolot modified the engine a lot, because it is an old physics engine. So yeah, this doesn't seem to get stuck as easily. Let's spawn 4 of these and see how reliable they are. Like, if this turns out to work, I, of course, am gonna have to make a cart that has an odd width, because otherwise it's just gonna look weird if it's off-center on the track all the time. Or just embrace the off-centerness. So yeah, basically what we're trying now is we're seeing if only having one bearing instead of a chain of 2 with a controller in between, see if that improves the reliability. Let's see how well this works. Okay, so this has been running for like half an hour now, which is like pretty good. So yeah, using a single longer, heavier pipe works. Does seem to be making it a little bit more reliable, though I haven't tested this for much longer than the kind of normal old MiniCart system on the curvy rails took to fail. What I did test for a really long time though, that is this system, which is where I kind of put one of these low friction wheels below the ground. And this has been in the background all the time, and it seems to be working pretty well. So this is something we came up with during the live stream. So currently it's going at the high speed, which is the same as it used to be for the old MiniCart, which is only slightly faster than running. So that's a bummer, but through the corners it can go faster. So through the corners it's one speed setting higher than with the MiniCarts I tested over there. So as you can see, it's coming through at quite the tempo. Ah, there we go. So yeah, this works pretty well. The idea of the rollers below the thing is not only that it's the minecart physically can't go out, but also like in the curves, there is a kind of more wedges below the curve, kind of below the ground, that are supposed to mesh up with these wheels. It's just that I did my curve math wrong, so in practice it's still the kind of old small sticks that are actually doing the steering work. If you look at this here. Yeah, see, it's still the sticks, even though there are like, there's a different set of wedges below the ground. Let me show you. So here I kind of put a different corner at 1 block thicker, but yeah, I did my math wrong, so it's slightly more than a block. But yeah, people have been working on curve generators, so that should be fixable. So yeah, the future of MiniCart is probably either going to be that or this. But more testing is required. A comment that was left by Mira Scheffers, and Goldfish Vendor has tested this on their own and confirmed it, that the wedges, they are more glitchy at the thinner part. This would align with almost every theory of how physics works that I've heard of. So over here you can see I start with the 2x8 wedges, not by the 1x8 wedges. It's kind of trying to counteract that effect in this curve. I should test this though. What's a good way to test this? Oh, I just realized that of course the angle of this is going to have an effect. Wait, let me do this the other way around. Alright, so how much concrete free can this handle? 1. 2. 3. I'm doing this wrong again. I should be doing it on the other side. So, yeah, so 1, 2, 5. This is just the bearing sagging, actually. Ah, okay. 6, 7. Okay, so it's sitting on the ground now. And the wedge is holding up strong. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so it took 7. And at 7 it was kind of sitting on the ground and just had to wait a little and it would just sink through. Let's see what happens if we use the thicker part of the wedge. I'm honestly not sure if this test is valid though. A longer. So if this can handle like 8 fingers of concrete, don't forget to do these two. We are golden with this fairy. 3, 4, but this might just not be the correct way to test it. 6, 7, and now wait a little. Yeah, it's just so slowly sinking through, but I think that's just the bearing. Oh, you see, this is interesting actually. Where is the pipe even? This is interesting because basically what's happening here is that because it's thicker, the pipe is still trying to go over here. Whilst with these thinner pipe, it just kind of gave up at some point. Like if I do this, it shoots back up in the correct direction. So the thick part of the wedge is indeed more resistant to glitchiness because it will keep trying to go back in the correct direction for longer. With the thin part, like once it's far enough, it just kind of gives up and tries to push it in the wrong direction. Yeah, so good suggestion, beetles and goldfish. So those were all of the comments that I thought were noteworthy. About the line follower, I am no line follower expert, but I have seen other people make good things. If someone can kind of show me or teach me how to make a line follower that doesn't like have this oscillating problem on long straight sections, I would love to hear from it. As for the future of MiniCart, it's probably going to be either this, or it's going to be this system as suggested by FA. And of course, using the smoother curves, I came up with this during the live stream, but of course I still got to credit Skoda Hemai and Misha Serafin for those suggestions. So yeah, thanks for leaving the comments. If you still have new suggestions, please do leave the comments. I try to read all of them. I'm Codemaker4. I still don't really have an outro yet. So, like, subscribe, I guess. Oh, yeah, and join my Discord server.